Today we are starting a new chapter on the digestive system. One of my favorite chapters, actually. And as always, I want to start off with vocabulary. This time we have, I forget how many words, I think 13 or 14 words altogether. Not too bad, actually. I'm going to try to not be as long-winded as usual, so let's jump into this. Your first word is alimentary. Alimentary is relating to nourishment or sustenance, right? Because this is the digestive system. It's all about getting food. So alimentary, you're going to hear this word when talking about your alimentary canal. You may have also heard of it known as your gastrointestinal tract or your GI tract, right? What your alimentary canal is these series of organs that food touches, all right? From your mouth down your esophagus, to your stomach, to your small intestine, to your large intestine, and out your anus. That is your alimentary canal. It's all one long tube, right? And it is technically considered outside of your body. Because if you were to open up your mouth, the inside of your mouth is exposed, and that is one continuous exposure all the way around. So essentially, human beings are one big walking donut with a hole right down the middle. And that's what we're talking about in this chapter. Everything, your alimentary canal and everything attached to it, what they're going to do. Next word, amylase, an enzyme found in saliva and pancreatic fluid. All right, pancreatic fluid is, if you see this yellow thing, let me zoom in. It's not going to let me zoom in. Here we go. All right, this yellow thing back here is your pancreas. It produces a digestive fluid that gets poured into your small intestine. That's your pancreatic fluid, also known as pancreatic juice. Amylase is a specialized enzyme. This is a computer model of what it would look like if we could actually see it zoomed in. It's found in your saliva and that pancreatic fluid. It's going to break down starches into simple sugars. Right? Mostly we're going to know about it in your saliva. In this picture here, these are your salivary glands on the back of your mouth and the side of your mouth and underneath your tongue, producing your saliva so that your food is easy to swallow. But it also contains this digestive enzyme. So you start breaking down your food before you even swallow your food. I mean, chemically, this is chemistry. I don't mean the chewing. Bolus is probably a new word for you. We tend not to use this word outside of biology or anatomy. Bolus is the mass of chewed up food at the moment of swallowing. All right, this is probably the least disgusting picture I could find. I tried not to find a gross one for you. So you see this picture, this person's tongue is lifting up to the top, pushing the food back. And this is the chewed up food going to the back. And once you swallow it, officially right around here, this is now known as a bolus. Right? It's not really food anymore because you already started digesting it. Now it's its own brand new thing. Chyme. Once that bolus reaches your stomach, I'm going to back up here. So the bolus is going to go down your esophagus and into your stomach. Inside your stomach is a bunch of acid and a bunch of other digestive enzymes. So that bolus is going to start getting broken down even more at the chemical level, right? In your mouth, it was done at the mechanical level, meaning chewing, physically breaking it down with a little bit of chemistry involved. In your stomach, it's going to be the other way around. There's a little bit of physical breakdown. This is mostly chemistry, chemical breakdowns. There's acid and other enzymes we're going to talk about today that is breaking that bolus down into this disgusting soup, this liquid, right? You have seen it before if you've ever thrown up, right? That's chyme. So you tell when you see vomit, it doesn't look like food anymore, especially vomit that's been there in your stomach for a while, right? That liquefied remains of what used to be food now also has the gastric juices, that's the liquids in your stomach, is going to go eventually go into your small intestine for further digestion. Which brings me to your next word, digestion. This is the mechanical and chemical breakdown of food in the alimentary canal into substances that can be used by the body. Let me simplify that. You're breaking down food into something that's easier to use. All right. Looking at this picture, this person is eating pizza. In their mouth, it's mostly a physical breakdown. We call mechanical breakdown, the chewing. When she swallows it, it's still pizza, right? That bolus is just mashed up pizza. When it gets into the stomach, however, now we have acid and we have these other enzymes called pepsin and lipase that are further breaking it down with chemistry, right? When she chewed it, she didn't change the molecules, right? Those were still pizza molecules. It was just in a mushed up state. In your stomach, these chemicals are actually breaking the molecules down into even smaller molecules that are easier to use. So this is no longer pizza anymore. And then once it leaves the stomach into the small intestine, those pancreatic juices I said, digestive fluids, are going to break those smaller molecules down into even smaller molecules. That's what this whole chapter is going to be mostly about. And then we are going to absorb those smaller molecules. Just like in your lungs, we have capillaries, the tiny little blood vessels. In your lungs, they absorb oxygen. Here, they're going to absorb all of your nutrients, these tiny molecules. And then whatever you don't absorb continues into your large intestine and then becomes the waste that we go to the bathroom and get rid of. Your next word, emulsify. To use one liquid to break down a second liquid into droplets, right? Look at this picture. I got this big lump of fat, usually oils, which is still a liquid, any oily foods you eat. Your body's going to produce this liquid called bile, this green, gross stuff. You've seen it before. Have you ever thrown up so bad that you just ran out of throw up, but your body kept forcing you to? So eventually this really bitter green stuff came out. That's bile. That's not supposed to go in that direction. That's supposed to go in the opposite direction, further into your digestive system. And it is going to mix with the oily fats and break them down into smaller droplets. And those smaller droplets are easier for your pancreatic juices to get into in between and break down. Right? And I actually had a video showing that. And oh, I apologize. I also had a video showing you a bolus too. So just really quick, here's the bolus. You chew the food and now it's a bolus. And notice that it's going down the back pipe, not the front pipe. The front one is for breathing, that's your trachea. The back one is your esophagus. Right? Enough of that. Now to emulsifying. Let me backtrack here. This is actually chicken parts you're looking at, so don't be grossed out. Right? But this person got chicken liver and found the gallbladder. That's where we keep the liver's job is to make the bile. The gallbladder holds the bile for when they need it. This person took that gallbladder, took the bile, fast forward, drained it out into that cup. So now she has a fresh cup of bile that she is mixing with oil and water. So this is just oil and water. This is oil and water and bile. Now oil and water will emulsify too because water and oil don't mix well together. Let's see. I'm going to fast forward a bit, but you see that better over here. There's droplets of oil floating around. You can still see it here too. Bubbles of oil because the water got all in between. Fast forward a bit. There we go. And you can see with just oil and water, the oil clumps back together and starts forming larger bubbles and eventually just become one big thing of oil again. With the bile, it keeps the oil in smaller bubbles so that your digestive fluids can get in between them even easier and break your fats down so much easier than that. So you can digest without bile. It's easier to digest with bile. Gastric. Having to do with your stomach. That's it. It's just a fancy word. So whenever you have gastric, we're talking about your stomach and related things. So those liquids in your stomach are called gastric fluids. Your stomach acid is a gastric fluid. The enzymes we talked about inside here are gastric enzymes. This pepsin we're going to talk about is a gastric enzyme. Metabolize. This is actually not a brand new word. Right? We talked about metabolizing in Bio 1 when I talked about cellular respiration. That's what you're seeing in this picture. You eat glucose, that's your sugar, by the way. If you don't remember Bio 1, has all of your energy. You metabolize the glucose by turning it into ATP, a molecule that you are able to use as energy. So you convert food into energy, also into growth. Also, Bio 1, if you remember, if you had me for Bio 1, you probably remember this video where you metabolize your amino acids, put them together to make your proteins. You got the amino acids from the food you eat, and you use it to build proteins. Right? That's metabolizing, taking the food you eat and turning it into something else that is usable. And then eventually there's always going to be waste as well. That's what you know, in this case, exhale carbon dioxide. Right there's your carbon dioxide. That's the waste. Peptic, having to do with the enzyme pepsin in digestion. So going back up, there we go. There's your stomach. Here are the enzymes in your stomach. That's the pepsin, breaking things down. Right? So pepsin, or peptic, having to do with pepsin. Pepsin is a gastric enzyme. You have multiple, but this is the one we're focusing on because this one is one of the more useful ones used for breaking down meats, protein-heavy foods. And again, this is a computerized model of what it would look like if we could zoom in on it. And I have a picture of Pepsi here because notice, very similar. Pepsi actually happens to be a Greek word that means stomach, which is what pepsin is named after. It's named after the Greek word for stomach. And originally, just a fun story, Pepsi, the soda Pepsi, was originally designed by a pharmacist to be a medicine to help you he claimed anyway that it would help you digest your food better. So he named it after the Greek word for stomach. It doesn't actually contain pepsin. I just want you to show you the connection between the names. These all have to do with your belly. All have to do with your stomach. So a peptic ulcer, right? Some of you have ulcers before, maybe an ulcer like around the corner of your mouth or something. This is a different kind of ulcer. A peptic ulcer is when your pepsin and other gastric fluids start breaking down your own stomach or esophagus or small intestine. Look at this picture. You see my mouse moving around? This is your stomach. This is the esophagus. This is the small intestine, right? This is a sore that develops in the lining of this stomach, esophagus, or small intestine, and it's caused by your own stomach acid. Normally, we have a good layer of mucus surrounding your stomach, right? This is acid-proof mucus. It's pepsin-proof mucus. You know, it keeps you safe. Unfortunately, sometimes certain bacteria can survive in your stomach and eat the mucus, therefore exposing the meat of your stomach to your acid, to your pepsin. And when I say pepsin breaks down, meat. What is your stomach made out of? Meat. Your own pepsin, your own acid will start breaking away your own stomach. If the acid jumps up here to your esophagus because you have acid reflux, same deal. We don't have the mucus up here, so acid reflux will cause a peptic ulcer. If you don't eat enough food, because this is how chemistry works, guys. You take two chemicals, put them together, they're no longer the same chemicals anymore. So if you eat food, mix it with the acid, it's no longer food and acid. Now it is chyme. The two things together became chyme. If you don't eat enough food, you don't cancel out the acid. So when everything moves down to your intestines, that acid is still acid. You have now allowed acid to go into your intestines, which you do not have mucus to protect you from. So you have to eat. Please do not starve yourself. They say you will start digesting your own stomach. No, you'll start digesting your own intestines, is what really happened. Peristalsis. This is how things move in your body, right? When you swallow food, it's not just falling to your stomach. It's not gravity. all right, is actually a muscle movement, a wave-like muscle contraction that moves materials through the alimentary canal. Meaning, this is your esophagus right here, right? It squeezes the bolus down, which means since it's not gravity, you could actually be doing a handstand and still swallow your food. It can still go from your mouth to your stomach. You could be in outer space. You could be an astronaut floating around with no gravity, and still the food will get to your stomach, right? From your esophagus into your stomach because it's squeezed in, just like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. And again, I have a video of that. Fair warning, it's gross. It's real. This is a real intestine from a real living person. All right, so if you're squeamish, close your eyes now. I'll let you know when to open them. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Here you can see the intestines squeezing the food that's on the inside and eventually will become waste. So this will be squeezing the waste to the bathroom, to the toilet. Right? That's how things are moving throughout your body. This is peristalsis. Right? What you're looking at is an actual muscle. I'll rewind because it's almost over there. You're looking at an actual muscle, so that muscle is contracting. It's not the food that is moving the muscle, it's the muscle that is moving the food. That's what you see. All right, guys, it is safe to look if you had your eyes shut. We are back to the words. Saliva is a watery mucus with digestive enzymes used to lubricate and break down the food in your mouth. I don't think I need to show you saliva. You all know what saliva, you all know what spit looks like. All right, that's what your saliva is. It's your spit. All right. It is used to lubricate your food so you can swallow it easier. Right? You ever heard of the cinnamon challenge? Don't try it. You may choke and die, right? Because cinnamon is so dry, you don't produce enough saliva to properly lubricate it, so it can't go down. And also break down food because it has that amylase we talked about. So now we can move on to sphincter, a ring of smooth muscle that acts like a doorway, right? You're looking at the esophagus and the stomach. Right? Here's the bigger picture here. Esophagus, stomach, right where they meet, there's a doorway. This ring of muscle, it's going to squeeze, contract to be shut, and then open back up to allow food in. Again, I'm going to show you real pictures. So if you're squeamish, look away now. All right. So this is when it looks like when it's closed. And then as it starts opening up, actually I said contract to close. I lied. It's actually contracting to open. Right. So the muscle from here to here is contracting this way. And from here, this way to open up. And you're actually looking, let me back to my cartoony picture, at the bottom of the stomach into the small intestine. So you can actually see into the small intestine right here. And I actually managed to find a YouTube video of this exact sphincter, like that these pictures came from. So you see, and this is, by the way, peristalsis still. Right? This is a peristalsis muscle contraction that is opening the muscle up. And now you can see the small intestine also opening up with it. And now as this closes, the small intestine is going to start squeezing behind it. This is all part of peristalsis. This part that you're looking at happens to be a door along the path. And here's it opened. We didn't even notice it opening because it went downward. And here's it closing again. Right? This is called a sphincter. Now you have 5 of them, I believe, throughout your entire digestive system. The top of your stomach, the bottom of your stomach, which then goes into your intestines. From your small intestine to your large intestine, that's 3. And then from your large intestine to the toilet, there's actually 2 there. You have a double sphincter at the back. That's your anus, by the way. Yes, we will be saying that word in not humorous ways. The anus is a double sphincter, extra strength. All right. If you are grossed out and you stopped looking, it is now safe to look again. All right, villi, finger-like projections in the small intestine. In that last picture, I said you actually saw into the small intestine. And you know what? I lied. I'm going back to that real picture. So, suck it up, buttercup. Here we go. In the small intestine, it looks really smooth, but you can see how it kind of goes around the corner there. When you get around that corner, the texture actually changes and it actually looks like fleece. Have you ever had like a fleece hoodie, a fleece sweater or fleece pullover? And I don't mean an old fleece that went through the wash a couple of times. I mean, yeah, brand new soft fleece. Right? That's what it feels like on the inside of this small intestine. This, and if you looked away, you can look again, is a computer generated one, so we see more detail and zoomed in. Right? These individual things, these finger-like projections in this small intestine are called villi. And just like your lungs, where there was a whole bunch of capillaries, tiny blood vessels that were in your lungs absorbing oxygen, in your small intestine, these have capillaries inside that are absorbing the nutrients, right? That chyme we talked about leaves your stomach and then flows through here, and these things are absorbing all the nutrients that are flowing past. So this cartoony picture shows the inside of one villi. And this is one cell thick, and the nutrients can just squeeze their way in between cells and into the blood vessels. And now the nutrients are in your bloodstream, going to whatever body part needs the nutrients. And your intestines are filled with these. Going back up to this first picture, right, all through here, countless villi. I don't even have a number for it. You know, billions, trillions of villi, hundreds of trillions, I don't know. All through there absorbing all the nutrients, which is why your intestines are so long. The longer your intestines are, the more villi you have, the more nutrients you can absorb. And then by the time it gets to the end of your small intestine, all this was small intestine. By the time it gets to the end of your small intestine, whatever nutrients you didn't absorb, tough. You're out of time. Then it moves into your large intestine, which is just going to absorb water. And by the time it gets to the end of your large intestine, you would have absorbed all the liquid back into your body, and now you're left with solid waste, which you just go to the bathroom to get rid of. All right? That was all one long tube. From your mouth, the food became a bolus. Into your stomach, it became chyme, the liquid goop that used to be food. And then in your small intestine, you were finally able to absorb the nutrients from the chyme. And in your large intestine, you can absorb the water, or soda or whatever you were drinking. The water's in the soda. You absorb the water, and by the time you get here, it's all solid waste. You go to the bathroom, it's gone. That is your digestive system in a nutshell. All right. Next time we talk, we will be dipping into our official beginning of the notes. We will be starting with the mouth. And good luck.